What's up, y'all? Beautiful day out today. You know I'm from Washington. I like the overcast, cool days. It's not raining, but it's nice and brisk. It's refreshing to me. Anyway, I wanted to jump on here and get personal with y'all real quick and share something about my life that took me a long time to be vulnerable and transparent about. So, to give you for context, this happened about 5 years ago. So about a year before I got sober, got my stuff together. At the time, I was spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, and literally, like physically, in poverty and homeless. Like my body didn't have shelter, and neither did my mind or my spirit. On this day, I'm not sure how it happened, but I connected with my mom, and she understood exactly what was going on in my life. My family wasn't intact. I didn't have shelter, didn't have a job. Severely depressed, anxious, drunk, and high all the time. Not doing too good. Understanding these things, she made a decision that she was going to give me a little support. She got me a room for, it was 4 or 5 nights at a local hotel here in the city. And a little bit of cash, Everybody feels pretty good when they got a little jack in their pocket. My dad used to be like, you got any dust in your pocket? Oh, I miss it, man. Rest in peace, Dad. Anyway, so I don't know. I think I had maybe like 50, 60 bucks. Co-workers. Anyway, so I grabbed a little bit of food. I think I got like a burger or something. But I went to I think it's a Walgreens. There used to be a Walgreens across the street at the time, and I bought a fifth of really cheap vodka. I think it was like Smirnoff or Stoli or something. It's real bottom of the barrel, rock gut type stuff. A couple of tall cans for when the vodka ran out. I'm telling you right now, I'm a connoisseur. I was an experienced drinker. Drank a lot. But before I left, before I left, I walked down. I had this sudden urge to walk down the aisle with all the sleep medication. And as I approached, sleep aids, as I approached the section that had all the Tylenol PMs and all of the PMs, I knew what I was going to do. I made my decision in that moment that I was going to steal at least 3 of these bottles, these liquid gel caps. So I did. Snatched 3 of them up, took them out of the boxes, and I stuffed them in my pockets. At this point, I didn't even try to hide the fact that I was stealing anything, because I didn't care if I went to jail. I didn't give a shit if I got stopped by, the people that worked there or any of that shit. I just really didn't give a shit. Got back to my room, and I took each of those bottles of sleep aids. I think it was like Advil PM or something. Could have been Tylenol. Doesn't matter much. And I took some of the complimentary cups, like the little cups that are often in hotel rooms. Usually they put them in there for coffee or whatever. The plastic ones. And I filled them all with a few ounces of warm water. And I took the bottles and I emptied them all out to each cup in the water. And then I proceeded to drink the tall cans first. They were supposed to be last, but I drank those first. And the plan developed kind of organically on the fly. I was like, no, I'm gonna hold off on the bottle. I'm gonna wait. So I drank the tall cans with these gel caps marinated in this lukewarm tap water. I think maybe about half an hour had gone by. I had a pretty good buzz from the 4 tall cans that I just drank. And I was like, all right, we're going to do this. So I picked up one of the cups with the sleep aids in it, looked at it, and kind of had this blue tint to the water. You know, as the casings on the pill started to disintegrate and the liquid started to come out. It's exactly how I wanted it. It was cooked precisely. Down the hatch. And I sat back for a second. I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe I just drank that shit. And for a long time, and I still have elements of this to my personality, but I said, well, fuck it. We're knee deep now. Let's get the other ones. So I grabbed the second cup. Down the hatch. Didn't even wait for the third one. Grabbed the third one, slammed it. Like, well, let's make sure these things settle in and wash them down with a little bit of this really fine vodka beverage. So I grabbed that, cracked the lid, drank till my eyes watered, and I thought I might gag. Took a break, took a couple of breaths, repeated that 4 or 5 times. I think I had maybe a finger and a half left in the bottom of that bottle. And I remember distinctly thinking this thought. I remember looking at the bottle, setting it down, and knowing, like, if I tried that again, everything was coming up. And I didn't want that. So I said, no, I think that's solid. I think that'll do. So I set the bottle down, capped it like any gentleman would, lit a cigar. Back then I smoked Black and Milds. You know, another classy move. Kicked my shoes off, had the cigar in my mouth, put my hands behind my head, you know, and relax like that on the bed. Kicked my feet up, and Animal Planet was on. And I remember looking at it, and it was like a gazelle about to get jumped by a female lion. And I remember thinking, oh, that gazelle's fucked. And that's literally the last thing I remember until 14 days later, 11 to 14 days later, somewhere around there. And I woke up in the ICU. I talked to the emergency room doctor, and I was not surprised by his surprise, because I've heard this before from another doctor. Just for context, so what I do when I get loaded is I prioritize my solution in numbing above everything else. So I don't go to work, I don't communicate, I don't do any of that stuff. I just shut down and drink, drug. He comes in and he sits down, he takes his glasses off, and he sets his clipboard down on the counter. He said, young man, in my 25 years as an ER doctor in different states and cities around this country, I've never met a young man with a blood alcohol volume like you had when you first got here, who is still alive. And that's not counting how dangerous it was for you to swallow over 200 pills, almost 300 pills. I don't know how you're still here or why you're still here, but you need to consider that you might have a purpose. You know what I did when I left that hospital? It'd be cool, it'd be really romantic and poetic for me to say that I'd left that hospital and found a spiritual footing and made my way into serenity, life of recovery and peace. That's not what happened. The day I left that hospital, I was drunk again within half an hour, 45 minutes. Why would I share a story like this? One, because it helps me. I release all this stuff, I identify the trauma behind it, and I release it. It's one of the ways that I process it and it keeps me sane. That might seem kind of counterintuitive to some of you because that's a pretty, like, scary story. And likely not one that most people would want to share freely. One of the great things about living in recovery is I don't have to live with secrets. Mainly because my secrets keep me sick. And I also share stories like this because I know that I'm not remarkable in such a way that I'm the only one who felt that way. Like there was no other way out. The only solution was to just leave. Being such a burden to myself and the people around me that the best idea, the best option was suicide. I'm not the only one that feels that way, felt that way. I don't feel that way now. Love my life now. I share that so someone can connect with it. Someone can look at me coming from, that's just one story, y'all. I got more. Someone can connect with that story and that trauma and that pain and instantly understand, like, damn, I feel that way too. And if this guy, if that guy can make it out, shit, maybe I can make it out. It took me a long time to understand exactly what my purpose is and what my strengths are. Some of my strengths are connection, highly intuitive, and I communicate well. And that's not something that's born of me. I was gifted these abilities and these strengths. That's not me. That's from something else. Some might call it a higher power, God, whatever. I choose to call it God. And it doesn't matter much what you call it as long as you got one. Power greater than yourself. But I choose to share these things with people, again, so they can connect with them. And maybe they'll reach out. Maybe it'll save someone's life, even if it's only in that moment. Because, man, I'm telling you, there were times in my early recovery where it was minute to minute, hour to hour, and I needed something to cling on to. I needed to be connected with men who had lives and lived the way that I saw for myself. I needed that connection. My purpose here with this video is to provide that space for anybody. If you've even a sliver of hope or an idea for the life that you envision for yourself on the other side of whatever it is that you might be going through right now, you gotta fucking hold tight to that shit. And you gotta reach out. One thing that I live by, one of the things that I live by, and I believe with my whole heart, is, and this goes for everybody, universally across the board, who's able-minded and bodied. You deserve and have the right to work as diligently and willfully and intentionally for the life you deserve and the life you want. Because it's out there. It's not a dream. I didn't make these things up. There's someone out there. When I was messed up, trying to kill myself and shit, someone was living, millions, billions of people were living the life that I envisioned for myself. So this isn't some kind of weird fantasy. These things exist. Every single goal, every single dream that you have for yourself and your life, the future you might picture for yourself, it's real somewhere for somebody. It just so happens I'm one of them. I want to show you the things that I did. I want to teach you the way that I took, the path that I took out of all that desperation, trauma, and pain. MajiOnline.com, Maji on YouTube. Email me at mentor@MajiOnline.com. It's time to let that shit go. Peace, y'all.